What fuel do Formula One cars use? Greetings, my buddies. The Formula One Championship is back with another intriguing film, and this time all we are going to take about is the fuel in Formula One car. So come on, let's begin the video, without waiting for anything else. Formula One is considered the pinnacle of motorsport. The cars and the technology used to build and run them are highly advanced, and this includes everything from the nuts and bolts to the more complex aerodynamic components. It even means the kind of fuel Formula One cars use is highly advanced. Formula One cars use fuel that is very similar to the fuel you would put in any road car at an average gas station. It is specifically regulated this way, to be roughly equivalent to a premium road fuel with a high octane number. For 2022 to 2025, the fuel is an E10 blend containing 10% sustainable ethanol. But it's not quite that straightforward, as there are many nuances that teams and their fuel partners exploit to try to gain an edge on the competition. What kind of fuel do Formula One cars use? Formula One cars use a petrol blend that is carefully regulated to be very similar to standard petrol. The Formula One team's fuel suppliers are not allowed to include power-boosting chemicals that are not present in standard road fuel. This keeps Formula One fuel development relevant to real-world motoring. Formula One fuel must have a minimum octane number of 87. However, higher octane numbers are legal, as no maximum allowable rating is given. Typically, Formula One fuels have octane numbers in the range of 95 to 102. As a comparison, commercially available road fuel typically has an octane rating of 93 to 95. Within the regulations, teams and fuel suppliers are free to optimize their particular blend of fuel according to their power unit. Formula One fuel also has a component of renewable biofuels. Through 2021, a blend with 5.75% ethanol was required. From 2022 to 2025, a 10% sustainable ethanol blend is required. From 2025 onwards, Formula One aims to use 100% sustainable fuel. This forms part of their drive to be carbon neutral by 2030. And Formula One car must use no more than 110 kilograms of fuel during a race. That is a maximum of approximately 150 liters over a race distance of 305 kilometers, or 190 miles. That converts to a worst-case fuel consumption of around 2 kilometers L, or 4.8 mpg. Fuel flow is limited to 100 kilograms per hour. Often, less fuel is put into the car in order for it to run with as little weight as possible. Carrying extra fuel around the track costs lap time. Every 10 kilograms of fuel is estimated to cost 0.3 of a second per lap. Formula One race engineers use data during simulations and practice to calculate the minimum weight of fuel that can be placed in the car in order to make the full race distance. This limit on how much fuel could be used was introduced with the 2014 regulation change to V6 turbo engines. The major motivation was to promote fuel-efficient cars. This fuel limit forced power unit suppliers to design incredibly efficient engines to still be able to extract maximum horsepower. Formula One uses multiple brands of fuel, as each F1 team has a close relationship with its fuel supplier. Shell's partnership with Ferrari is one of the most iconic, along with Mercedes' partnership with Petronas and McLaren's partnership with Gulf Oil. McLaren ran a livery to highlight their partnership with Gulf as a fuel supplier at the Monaco Grand Prix in 2021, and the Gulf Blue was carried over into their 2022 livery. Many Formula One fans will instantly recognize the Petronas brand. Petronas is a Malaysian state-owned oil and gas company, and its brand is prominent on the Mercedes cars. Other brands of fuel used by Formula One teams include ExxonMobil and BP, Castrol, for Red Bull and Alpine respectively. But strangely, all F1 cars do not use the same fuel. Although the specification of the fuel that they are allowed to use is fairly tightly regulated, there is enough freedom within the rules to allow each partnership to optimize the fuel blend according to the power unit that they are using. There are currently 4 different power unit suppliers within Formula One: Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull Powertrains and Renault, Alpine. Each power unit has different characteristics and strengths, and so the fuel will be adjusted to best complement the particular engine. However, long-term sponsorships and other specifics of the car also explain the variance in suppliers, even if teams are using the same engines. So, while we are talking about fuel, did you came up with the question that how much does Formula One fuel cost? Because I have this query, and this is the response. Formula One fuel costs approximately $2.50 per liter. Being similar to standard road-going petrol, the price is not drastically different to what you might pay at the pump, considering it's powering some of the fastest cars on the planet. However, considering the precision engineering, development and quality control required to produce this fuel, it makes sense that the price is a bit higher. Here's an interesting fact for you all that Formula One cars are not allowed to be refueled during a race under the current regulations. Refueling was banned after the 2009 season, predominantly to increase safety and to decrease costs. The FIA publishes the current technical and sporting regulations online, available for the public download. The sporting regulations rule out refueling during the race, as has been the case since 2008. They also give the maximum fuel allowed to be used during a race, currently 110 kilograms as explained already. The technical regulations, the stuff that keeps the engineers awake at night, give detailed chemical specifications for the fuel. The regulations specifically aim to outlaw the use of specialized power-boosting additives. A number of acceptable hydrocarbon compounds are named, with acceptable limits. Restrictions on other chemicals such as lead and sulfur are also given. Numerous specifications are also given for the fuel systems of the cars. These include safety requirements, such as the construction of the fuel tank. The fuel that Formula One cars use is tested regularly. A key fuel regulation is that a 1-liter sample of fuel must always be available to be taken from the car at any time during the competition. Most notably, this means that it is necessary that each car ends a race with at least 1 liter of fuel still in the tank. Testing the fuel left in the car at the end of the race is critical to be sure that the car has been racing with fuel that is compliant. It prevents teams from sneaking in an unapproved blend for a sporting advantage. A recent example of a competitor falling foul of this regulation was at the 2021 Hungarian GP, where Sebastian Vettel finished second for Aston Martin. He was asked by the team to stop his car at the side of the track, rather than returning to the pits. This was to keep enough fuel in the car for this sample to be taken. Unfortunately, less than 1 liter remained, and Vettel was disqualified. The fuel is tested to ensure that it complies with Formula One specifications by using a laboratory test method called gas chromatography, GC. A GC output gives a specific fuel fingerprint, with each chemical component registering as a peak in a specific position on the output graph. The GC is a common and versatile method. This fingerprint is what is checked for when fuel samples are taken. That's it for today's video. Bye guys. We'll see you soon in another interesting video on this topic. If you enjoyed the video, share the video and subscribe to this channel.